I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully.
Is there something going on that we're missing?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, whose balls is he hiding in his cheeks? That's the first question I want to know. And I don't love the way he says, fierce.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Tim Walz's carefully polished image just took a direct hit, and it's not from a political rival, but from Tyrus himself. What was supposed to be another calm day in politics has turned into a headline-grabbing storm, with Tyrus tearing into Walz like never before. And make no mistake, this isn't some casual rant. It's scorched earth, it's explosive, and it's pulling back the curtain on one of the most all-American governors in the country. Tyrus didn't just wake up, sip coffee, and toss Tim Walz's name around like a casual mention. He came out swinging, with the force of a man who decided enough is enough. And when Tyrus says that, it doesn't sound like a polite Midwestern complaint. It sounds like a wrestling promo, where the next move is a body slam straight through the political coffee table. The performance alone has viewers stunned, because once Tyrus starts, there's no off switch.
It's because he is. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the out of him back. This is a weak, cruel man that takes it out and punches.
Now here's the shocker. Walz has long been sold to the people as Minnesota's everyman. A teacher, a coach, a veteran, a small-town dad who looks more at home at a church picnic than in a heated press conference. On paper, he's the perfect, relatable leader. The guy you'd wave to while he mows his lawn, or the neighbor who shows up to help move your couch. But Tyrus isn't falling for it. He's poking holes in that image, calling it less like potato salad at a family cookout, and more like something that smells like 2-week-old politics left in the sun. That comparison hit hard, and it's stuck. The truth is, when Tyrus unloads on someone, it's not about volume. It's about precision. People are stunned, not because he's always loud, but because suddenly all eyes are on Walz, and the cracks in his carefully painted image start showing. Minnesota. Nice starts looking more like Minnesota staged, and the gap between who Walz says he is and what Tyrus claims he really is becomes impossible to ignore. And here's where it gets fiery. Walz, according to Tyrus, isn't the teacher watching out for bullies. He's the bully himself, hiding behind charm and a cardigan sweater. Tyrus compared politics under Walz to a circus act, full of rehearsed smiles and predictable tricks. He's not a teacher, he's not a politician, he's a creepy guy who can't remember his speeches.
Masculinity is deeply part of it. That's one of the, I think it goes, and you can look at the reasons why we've had this sort of dialectic over the Me Too movement.
How do you fight it?
This notion
I think I could kick most of their.
What he's mad about is his own fault. He's mad about the image that was portrayed of him as the hunter. And who did that? You did that. We just laughed about it because the one thing you can't do is you can't front. You can't floss. Those are two key words when it comes to manhood. You can't.
That one line landed like a knockout punch. Suddenly, the idea of Walz as Minnesota's steady hand looks shaky at best. The pandemic years made it worse. Tyrus brought up the infamous contradictions. Gyms locked down, churches shut tight, but liquor stores wide open. That irony gave him all the ammunition he needed. You could buy booze at the gas station, Tyrus shouted, but you couldn't sit in a pew. The audience laughed, but the point was clear. Walz's decisions didn't add up. And in politics, when things don't add up, opponents are quick to do the math for you. But Tyrus wasn't done. He slammed Walz for inconsistency, for constantly shifting positions like an acrobat flipping in the air. 1 minute he's pro, the next he's cautiously against, depending on the political wind. Tyrus painted Walz as a flip-flopper auditioning for Cirque du Soleil, saying his backflips could rival any acrobat's routine. That imagery stuck with the crowd, because once you picture a governor as a circus performer trying desperately to land on his feet, it's hard to take him seriously again. It didn't stop there. Tyrus dragged out Walz's contradictions like they were dirty laundry on display, from policies that didn't match his promises to leadership moments that felt more like sitcom bloopers. The portrait became clearer and clearer. Imagine your neighbor promising to fix the fence, but showing up with duct tape and a shrug. That's the way Tyrus wants the public to see Walz.
Yeah.
A teacher snatches the bully's ass up.
Yeah.
Come sit with me. That's what I know. Someone's bullying. Oh, you can sit with me for a while. And then I would lean on him. I'd bully him back. He's not a teacher. He's not a politician. He's a creepy guy who can't remember his speeches. I don't know what the hell was in the water in that White House, or was everyone on the same bad cocaine? But Kamala can't speak. He can't speak. Biden was so high he couldn't remember anything. Like, this is literally the dumbest administration of all time. Why is he talking?
It really is the ultimate clown show. And I said this in the 5. He's a clown without a...
And once you imagine it, it's almost impossible to forget. Law and Order. That became another comedy sketch in Tyrus's breakdown. Walz talked about justice, fairness, and unity. But when chaos erupted after George Floyd's death, the leadership on display looked indecisive, confused, and hesitant. Tyrus described Walz as standing in front of a 5-alarm fire, holding nothing but a garden hose, hoping the wind would change. The audience roared because the image was funny, but the message behind it was brutal. It painted Walz as overwhelmed and unprepared. And then there was the military background, a detail Walz often leaned on to boost his credibility. But Tyrus spun it another way, saying it was like pulling out baby pictures to win an argument. Sure, it gave Walz something to lean on, but in the face of contradictions, it looked more like a shield than proof of real leadership. And when Tyrus mocked the way Walz plays with his image, serious when it's convenient, cheerful when polling requires, it became clear that the attack wasn't just on the man, but on the performance itself. By the time Tyrus wrapped this first wave of attacks, Walz no longer looked like the dad next-door governor. He looked like a carefully polished product, wrapped in plaid shirts and dad jokes, hiding a record full of contradictions. And the audience wasn't just entertained, they were nodding. Because once Tyrus exposes the illusion, you can't stop seeing the cracks.
My tweets, my DMs, like just one arm, and I just want to slap the. He's so weak. He brings nothing. If you were gonna go after someone, man to man, hit him with a fact. Hit him with something real.
Yes.
You don't have anything. And here's the cold part. If Elon called him up and said, "Hey Tim, you want a job?" he would take it, because that's what spineless. He would, and when he was questioned, he was like, "I was just holding him in account. You know, I respect him, and I'm so happy to be working for X." He is the worst player on their team, and they don't mind sending him out because
They're trying to get him off the table.
Yeah.
They're putting him out early so he can't be a factor later.
The political spotlight had shifted, and Tim Walz was suddenly caught in the glare. If you thought Tyrus was done, think again, because this is where the takedown turns relentless. Once the cracks in Walz's public image were exposed, Tyrus went in deeper, dragging out receipts, contradictions, and hypocrisies like he was cleaning out a closet full of secrets. And trust me, what came out of that closet was messy. The so-called everyman governor suddenly looked less like a trustworthy leader and more like a man juggling roles in a bad sitcom. Teacher, coach, veteran, dad, Walz packaged himself as the human version of a State Farm commercial. But when Tyrus peeled back the packaging, the performance didn't match the product. And that's when the audience realized they'd been sold an image, not the truth. Tyrus hammered the point with biting sarcasm. He mocked the idea that Walz was Minnesota's calm and steady hand, saying his leadership was more like someone fumbling through an IKEA manual without the right screws. Pieces don't fit, parts are missing, and the whole thing wobbles when you lean on it, Tyrus shouted, comparing Walz's policies to a do-it-yourself disaster gone wrong. That line had viewers laughing, but also shaking their heads at how painfully accurate it sounded. The flip-flopping didn't stop at policies. It became a theme.
I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway, even if the governor ran, the real governor, not the governor from Minnesota, he's a sick puppy, that guy. That poor guy, I feel sorry for him. But they made a bad...
I feel bad for Elon. I would be furious if I was him. If this is who you sent to troll me?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing wrong to get the guy from D Team to come out at Family Theater and call me names?
Yeah.
Like, Tim, I would, if they were like, oh, Tyrus, man, tough news cycle. Tim Walz is talking about you. I'd be like, old Timmy, I want to fight him so bad.
Tyrus reminded the audience how Walz has shifted positions again and again, depending on political convenience. Taxes, education, law and order, each stance changed with the breeze, and Tyrus framed it perfectly. If politics were gymnastics, Walz would have a gold medal in backflips. That punchline hit like a hammer because it exposed Walz not as decisive, but as opportunistic. And then came the pandemic, a moment that should have defined leadership. But Tyrus shredded Walz's decisions, pointing to the contradictions that left Minnesotans baffled. Liquor stores open, gyms closed, churches locked. It became the kind of irony people never forgot. Tyrus described it as a state where you could buy booze at the gas station but couldn't sit in a church pew. The audience erupted because once the hypocrisy is pointed out, it's impossible to unsee. And then Tyrus hit Walz, where it hurt most, his reputation as the relatable, everyman leader. He turned that image upside down, comparing him to a used car salesman who puts on a baseball cap to look casual, but the car still doesn't run. That punch cut deep. It turned Walz's friendly dad persona into a costume, a disguise, a marketing trick designed to sell voters a lemon. By the end of this second wave of attacks, Walz wasn't just being questioned. He was being dismantled piece by piece.
I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there? I gotta tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes, just...
What do you make? Whoa, you got something there?
Hold on, before we do this, man, I got to protein up. Hold on.
Chug, 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 chug. Oh, he's chugging it. Hold on.
I need more protein, Gutfeld. I got my protein pudding, my protein shakes, jerky if you piss me off, but this ain't enough protein for this segment, Greg. I gotta old school this story here.
Where'd you get that?
Tyrus exposed him not as the small-town hero he claims to be, but as a politician playing a part. And the audience, they weren't just laughing. They were nodding, connecting the dots, and realizing that the man they thought was authentic might just be another political actor hiding behind plaid shirts and corny dad jokes. This wasn't just entertainment, it was exposure. And once exposed, you can't put the curtain back up. The breaking news was clear. Walz's carefully built brand was falling apart, and Tyrus was the one swinging the wrecking ball. Tyrus saved his sharpest punches for the finale. This wasn't just about policy gaps or awkward speeches anymore. It was about tearing down the carefully built illusion that Tim Walz has been hiding behind for years. And when the curtain fell, the audience was left staring at a very different picture than the one sold to them. Tyrus unleashed with brutal comparisons, mocking Walz's Minnesota nice image as nothing more than political stagecraft. He described him as a man auditioning for a role in a Hallmark movie while improvising his way through government. The idea stuck because Walz's speeches often sound heartfelt, but the actions behind them tell a different story. And when the gap between words and reality grows too wide, voters notice, and comedians like Tyrus make sure everyone notices.
So Levine, look, he has a sports coat and a zip-up sweater underneath. No man wears that.
I may have done that in the past.
Yes.
I won't now, Tyrus.
No, and one day somebody's going to explain what a corporate income tax is to these people. It's not paid by this. It's not paid by the corporation. It's not like a building that goes, I've got to pay taxes. It's the workers. True though.
That's a big red flag. Whenever you meet someone and they have to give you their resume,
yes.
And then as soon as they talk, you're like, that's why you gave me your resume.
Yeah, because it doesn't speak for itself.
You suck.
Yeah. It's like when people have their PhD on their Twitter handle. It's like, you know, this person's completely bonkers.
And their pronouns.
Yes. Are you mad, though, Tyrus, that, like, beards have been kind of co-opted by beta males like Tyler?
Oh.
No, because
Watch what you say.
It's like all. Wait, hold on. Watch what I say. I will around, stick my hand up your back, and make you my puppet for the rest of.
He painted Walz as a governor practicing empathy like lines in a play, tilting his head in the mirror, rehearsing concern, and stepping on stage with the right tone at the right time. How do I look serious? 30 degrees or 45 degrees head tilt? Tyrus mocked, turning leadership into comedy gold. And once the crowd pictured Walz rehearsing emotions, it was impossible to see his speeches the same way again. Then came the biggest blow. Tyrus argued that Walz's secrets aren't just in his policies, they're in his image. He's not the relatable dad next door. He's not the veteran hero ready to defend the people. He's a polished product, packaged and branded, sold like something off the political shelf. A man who mastered the art of performance while falling short on results. And that revelation landed like a thunderclap. As Tyrus wrapped his takedown, the conclusion was simple, but shocking. Tim Walz isn't unique. He's a symbol of modern politics itself. Leaders who say one thing, do another, and hide contradictions behind smiles, slogans, and photo ops. Tyrus didn't just expose Walz. He used him as the example of a system full of politicians auditioning for applause instead of delivering real results. By the time the dust settled, Walz's polished brand looked less like leadership and more like a shaky prop on a stage. The audience wasn't just entertained, they were enlightened. And the breaking news was crystal clear. Tyrus had ripped open the curtain, exposed the show, and left Walz standing in the spotlight with no place to hide. In the end, Tyrus didn't just roast Tim Walz, he rewrote his image in the eyes of millions. The governor once sold as Minnesota's everyman now looks more like a politician caught in his own contradictions, and once exposed, there's no going back.